Alhamdulillahi wahdah, wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'dah, amma ba'd. Today we will be covering the topic istinja from the book Nur Ul Idaah. There are three different terms that will come in a minute. So istinja means cleaning and cleansing the private part after answering the call of nature. And it is compulsory to ensure that the drops of urine have ceased before you clean it. There could be some drops left on the path, so one has to make sure that there's no dribbling happening afterwards. It is sunnah to perform istinja from any najasa that exits from the front or back passage of the private parts and has not spread past the orifice. It is sunnah if it has not gone past the orifice, means it has not soiled around the hole, around this opening. It has come out straight out. Nothing has soiled the area. So then you can just, it's not fard at that point, because you only have to wash or use the stone or tissue paper if it has soiled the area around it. If it has not, now it would not happen in the modern time, perhaps. In early stages, or even today when Muslims live in hot countries and they have very little food, very minimal stuff, and they're not into this heavy meals 2 or 3 times a day, so they would actually have a very dry poo, like the dropping of goats. So they might not actually have anything to soil it. That's a possibility even today, but doesn't happen that, because our food style and staple food has changed a lot. But if it is wajib, if the najasa has spread past the orifice in the circumferential way, and it is equivalent to the size of a dirham, but not more than that, not more than that. But it is fard if it has spread more than a dirham. A dirham is approximately 50p coin. Yeah. So if you stretch your palm, the center part, that's about the size, the dip in the center. Anyway, so if it has spread that much, it is fard to wash it. Less than that, then wajib. And has not soiled anything, it's sunnah to do the istinja. So 3 terms: istinja, istinqa, and istibra. Istinja when you use water, istinqa when you use tissue or stone, and istibra when you, after cleaning, do the final cleaning. We covered that istibra in detail. That is that's mainly for men. Men in their little bit older age, like when they're about maybe 35 and onwards, they get this issue of istibra. They should be very careful. Young boys tend to not have that much of a problem, and we cover that. So istinja. So let's start. What are the different types we just mentioned? It is sunnah when filth did not exceed from the exit point, orifice, the makhraj. Okay, it exceed means it has not soiled the area around it in the circumferential way. It is wajib if it has, but not more than a dirham size. And it is fard if it has exceeded more than a dirham. Remember that as a principle. So what is istibra? Istibra is to ensure that there's complete emptying of the passage. So what happened, the male private part, due to its length outside, the urine drop continues to flow. And we have 2 sphincters. Women have 2 sphincters as well, but they have a shorter one, so that's not a big problem. Male have 2, the internal one and the external one. So when the external one, you stop after urinating, whatever you think is done, the external one gets closed. The internal one is still open, and 1 or 2 drops have left the bladder. And now that you have stopped, it slowed down. The first rush has come out with the pressure because there was pressure. Now, last 1 or 2 drops take it longer. So they have to travel all that path. So if you've just cleaned yourself and you start come out and do your wudu, if there was a way of checking it, you would see, maybe give yourself a minute of walking inside the toilet or outside and come and go back and try to squeeze your private part. You would get 1 extra drop, maybe 2 extra drops coming out, depending on what's your nature. Everyone would know themselves. This is your own personal experience that you need to learn. So ideally, some people just walk. What they do, that is why you would find, especially the elderly in the family, dadas and nanas, grandparents, old male parents, they have a lungi of some sort, what you call a waist garment, which is like they wrap it around. And because it is easy to walk with that. So they go to the toilet, they take longer, and then they come out. And maybe after a few minutes, they just go back again. This is the way of them ensuring the last drop has slowly traveled all the way to the tip, and they squeeze it out, wash it, and then they are happy. This is called istibra, making themselves completely clear of any last drops. You could do that by walking. Some people like coughing a few times and getting the pressure, and pressure would make it easy. Some people come out and lie in the bed for a couple of minutes. Some gently pressing it to the end, placing tissue at the tip, or having a bit of brisk walking after putting the tissue there and then coming out. Some jump up and down or squat or whatever they feel comfortable. You have to decide what works for you and do that. So your heart, your mind must be content according to your habit that I have done enough and I'm sure that there's no drop after that. If shaitan continually create doubts, oh, there must be a leakage, something coming out, then you ignore it. You have done your istibra. After that, anything comes out, doesn't cause any harm to your wudu or your prayer. If you keep getting those waswas, some people have got this obsession as you keep thinking, oh my goodness, maybe there's a drop coming up. No, for them, the way is to wet your hand with some water and sprinkle on the private part around that garment so that there's water feeling, it's a little bit wet. So if you feel a drop coming out, you say, oh, it's actually the cool sensation from the water that I sprinkle on my lower garment. That would avoid you or save you from shaitanic whispers, oh, there's something must have come out. So one has to be sure that this wetness is urine. If you are 100% sure, then obviously then you clear it. But generally, it doesn't happen. After istibra, you're excused from it. So stop thinking, because the more you think about it, the more you will get into trouble. And as we age, there's more and more of that trouble. That is why now you know why grandparents take longer in toilet. Now, to wash away whatever najasa is in the orifice whilst bathing to remove the state of major ritual impurity, be it through wet dream or sexual relationship, postnatal bleeding or menstruation, that is important and a must. Even though the najasa may not be of a small quantity, maybe of a small quantity, sorry, even then you have to do that. If you're taking ghusl, you have to remove every impurity. You're not excused from that. It is sunnah to do najasa, istinja with the cleansing stone, with the cleaning stone, any stone, the stone which is clean itself, or the like, which is tissue. All things pure and not valued or venerated can be used in place of a stone. Tissue paper. Now, paper is not something that you'll be allowed to use because it is venerated. It is a respectable thing. You write on it. But the tissue paper is actually made for this. You don't write on that. So that tissue paper is fine. It's called paper. It's not paper from that sense. But normal paper, no, you can't. Likewise, bone, you can't. So something which is of some value, don't use something which could be used by someone. Not by you, maybe. You've got plenty of money. Some people might not have it. And obviously, doing with water is better. And you can do two. can use the tissue in the beginning and then water afterward. That's even better. You can combine the two. Remember the story of people of Quba. Quran says about them, فيه رجال يحبون أن يتطهروا والله يحب المطهرين. In Quba, among them are people who are very pure. They are very clean. And Allah loves those very, very clean people. So the Sahaba came and they asked, what is special that you do? So they said, we use stones first and then water afterwards to double clean them. MashaAllah. So this is the reason. Okay, so you can use tissue paper. It's specifically made for that reason. It is mustahab to use 3 stones, but not a must, according to Hanafi school. Some other schools say it has to be 3. And there are reasons for both sides. There's one hadith which says it has to be 3. There are certain where we know Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam only used 2. And, you know, so Hanafis have taken the view that you don't have to have 3, but whatever it takes to clean the area. Obviously, this is not something that we do these days. But remember, there are people who still live in areas where they might not have access to water or anything, and they're in the open. Now, there's a method, especially for men, to remember. It'll come to women as well. Because if you're using stones, and you might want to know why, or tissue even for that matter, it is important that you know it, because for one, the knowledge should continue to be imparted to the next generation. You never know what situation we will be in. The next generation might be in a difficult and different situation. God forbid, if you're back to where we were many, many hundred years ago, so what? Then we should know the rulings, who would impart that knowledge to them. So from even that angle, it is important to know these things. Sometimes we feel a little bit shy about talking and hearing and getting like, why are we talking about this? And people actually mock some ulama, saying that, oh, world is talking about nanoparticles and 5G or whatnot, genetics, and these Maulvis are sitting in masjid talking about stone and how to use stones. That's being very short-sighted, thinking that everything that they had today will always remain like this. And the people before us, and Allah mentions in the Quran many times, Aad and Thamud, and Allah says, they're more powerful. According to Allah's command, they were more powerful than the people, subhanAllah, of the nations before and after. They're really big people, those who created pyramids, and they were really someone special. They used to carve mountain. Now, we're talking about machines doing it now. They could do that, whatever tools they had, maybe a bit of chisel or whatever with their hand. They were powerful enough. So Allah created people that strong before, and they're now perished. We don't even have their remains at all. So things could go the same way again. Who knows? So that is why Sharia knowledge continues to be imparted to the generation after generation. So that is why this method is important. So obviously, if it's warm weather, you tend to have a bit of hanging, scrotum. So what would happen if you use the first stone or tissue from front to back, and the second from back to front, and the third again from front to back? Why? Because you may, if you did the first thing from back to front, the tissue or the stone would carry with it some of the excrement, and you may soil your testicle. So you are actually spreading the filth rather than cleaning it. If they're not hanging, especially in the winter season, in the cold season, then you can start from front to back. That's not a problem. They should start from front to the back, because they may accidentally go up further to get their private part affected by that. And then obviously you wash if water is available. And then you do the inner side of the 1, 2, or even 3 fingers if needed. and that the middle finger should be a little bit raised up, and in order to make sure, because the muscles are such that the actual sphincter or the rectal part, which is above, and anus part is a little bit up there with the, so you need to make sure that you do not leave any filth which is externally accessible, and that it would soil your clothes, it would soil you, and then then your wudu, your prayer would be invalid. So it should be very, very important. So make sure that you do that. Okay. So raising that middle finger a little bit up and ensuring that you have the water cleanse that part as well. Just one finger is not enough. Should do 3 together, yeah? Ideally. And that's disliked for women, but again, nothing is special. If that doesn't happen, that doesn't happen. But it's like, some people might not have adaptable, because if you keep rubbing, there could be a problem. The utmost care should be done in cleaning oneself until the foul smell has been eliminated, while thoroughly relaxing one's buttock, making sure that you are relaxed, not holding it tight and then trying to clean it, because then you've not gone to the little bit, of the basal part or lower part of the anus. But during fasting, don't get that relaxed, because you may have water being sucked up. Yeah, it could accidentally go in, and that would nullify your fast. So make sure during fasting, don't go deep there. And obviously, you can wash your hands. And then finally, about satar, it is unlawful to uncover one's awra, the private part that needs to be covered, for istinja in the presence of others. If one does, he will be regarded as fasiq. To be naked in front of your someone other than your wife or your spouse is haram. It's not allowed. You're fasiq, you're transgressor. The uncovering of one's awra in the presence of others is haram, and the perpetrator of a haram act is regarded as fasiq, regardless of whether the najasa has spread past the orifice or has exceeded the size of the room. You can't say, oh, since I had to wash it, I had to unclean myself. No, you can't. You can't uncover yourself. One should try to remove the najasa without exposing one's awra in the presence of others. It is makruh to perform istinja with a bone, because it is a food of jinn, as per the hadith. The food of a man or animal, you can't use that, as this would be disrespectful to sustenance. And baked bricks, pottery, charcoal, glass, gypsum, because they could physically harm the private part. Items of value, such as a piece of velvet or cotton, that could be used by someone else for the reasons. If you are not in need of that, give it to someone away. And the usage of the right hand without an excuse. And some adab, one should enter the toilet leading with the left foot. Before entering, seek refuge in Allah from the shaitan, the cursed one. Whilst in the open, one should recite this supplication before uncovering oneself. If you're in the, and reading this dua, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wal khaba'ith. Oh Allah, I seek your refuge from demons, male and female. And then you should sit leaning upon the left foot, a little bit on that side if you could. But obviously these days we do not squat. We have these toilet seats. Squatting is the best one with regards to emptying your rectum as well, actually, from medical perspective. It's quite useful. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen much. Unless there's severe necessity, don't talk. Now, some people would use their phone in the toilet, completely bad and ill manner. Reading book, likewise bad. It is makruh tahrimi, whilst relieving oneself to have one's face or back towards Qibla, even though one is in a building. According to Hanafi Fiqh, you cannot have your front part or the back passage facing towards Qibla. You have to move it. Even if your toilet seat is towards that, you just sit on the toilet seat, directing a little bit away from it. Even a little away would be fine. Otherwise, you're committing a sin. Likewise, you shouldn't be holding your child to make him urinate. Sometimes you are on some journey, and then can't find toilet and baby need to go out, and you just take him out, and then you, without thinking, in the direction of Qibla, that's disliked as well. Likewise, urinate towards the sun or moon is makruh because these are the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't disrespect them. However, this act is considered makruh tanzih rather than makruh tahrimi according to Allama ibn Abidin Shami. Likewise, it is disliked to sit and urinate in the direction of wind for obvious reason. It was just going to splash back to yourself or to somewhere else. It is makruh to urinate or defecate in water. Don't do that, even in a swimming pool. Under some shade or a hole, inside the hole or the path, because you're causing harm to others. Someone could have taken that shade, but due to the smell or the urine, they can't now. A fruit tree, because the fruit may drop on that urine and just waste it. No one would be able to benefit from it. And urinating is standing without excuse. With excuse, it is okay. Makruh to enter the toilet wearing anything with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Keep it inside, ideally. Leave it outside. One point before I forget is the dua. So now we have toilet, which obviously are with the bathrooms as well. So you just make dua outside of the toilet before you enter. And once you finish, you come out and do the dua. If you forgot, you can do dua in your mind, but don't verbalize it. You can't say anything out loud or even with the lips, in the toilet. You can't remember, you can't say zikr of Allah in the toilet. Just say in your mind and say it quietly. Or say outside, or come out and say the dua. Abu Dawood and Tirmidhi, they both have related on the authority of Anas radiallahu anhu that when the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam would enter the lavatory, he would remove his ring because engraved upon it was Muhammad Rasul Allah, Muhammadun Rasulullah, Muhammad the Messenger of Allah. Imam Tibi rahmatullahi commenting upon this states, in this there is a proof that it is wajib upon the one performing istinja to remove anything with the name of Allah upon it or his messenger or anything from Quran. Ibn Hajar has stated that it can be derived from this that it is mustahab to remove anything which has a revered name upon it from the names of Allah, prophets or angels. Not to remove it would be deemed makruh due to disrespect. If you don't do it, it's disrespect. One should leave the lavatory with one's right foot and then recite غفرانك الحمد لله الذي أذهب عني الأذى وعافاني. Oh Allah, I seek your forgiveness. Praise be to Allah who rid me of the filth and gave me health. Inshallah, with that being said, we leave it here. Inshallah, may Allah give us all the tawfiq to act upon Sharia and learn these three aspects. There's a fourth one which we would cover inshallah ta'ala. So Quran, Sunnah, and Fiqh, or Hadith or Fiqh. And then there's Tazkiyah, spirituality. I'm just keep thinking of how to get that in our time. Inshallah ta'ala, we cut short some of our sessions, so just make sure that we have 15 minutes each, or 20 minutes each, or 25 minutes, one or the other, and start our spiritual discourses as well. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.